I couldn't believe my ears. Charlotte Williams, a white woman from our neighborhood's HOA, was standing on my doorstep, dialing 911 on her phone after completely failing to break into my house. I knew right then that this was going to get ugly. This woman had already done enough damage, and now she was weaponizing the police against me. I was shaking with rage. But little did she know, the sheriff responding to her call wasn't just any sheriff. He was my son. This situation was supposed to be a routine neighborhood HOA inspection. Charlotte had shown up unannounced with her clipboard, an air of superiority, and a key ring full of master keys she claimed could open any door. It started innocently enough, or so I thought. I was just tending to my garden, a memorial to my late wife, when she approached. Her authoritative tone and the way she flaunted her badge gave me pause. It wasn't the kind of authority I was used to seeing, especially not from someone who didn't even bother to introduce themselves properly. "Good afternoon," she said, not even waiting for a response before pushing forward. "I'm Charlotte Williams from the Homeowners Association. Time for your quarterly inspection." I'd been living on Oak Ridge Drive for years, and let me tell you, the community here was informal. We kept our lawns nice and the neighborhood friendly, but there was never any issue with inspections or overreaching authority. But Charlotte, she had that look, the look of someone who thought she could get away with anything just because she wore a badge. I didn't trust her vibe, but I wasn't going to make a scene either. She walked up to my door, pulled out that massive key ring, and inserted a key into the lock. It didn't fit. She fumbled with another key. Still nothing. She wasn't backing down, though. Instead of admitting defeat, she stormed off to my mailbox and tried the same key. This time it worked. She was triumphant, thinking she had the upper hand. "See, the keys work fine," she said, her voice oozing with smug satisfaction. "Your front door lock is modified." Her condescending tone ignited a spark inside me. She had no idea what she was dealing with. I didn't react immediately, but I was about to. Something in my gut told me that this wasn't just about a faulty lock. As she fiddled with her phone, sending messages and typing notes into her clipboard, my phone buzzed. It was my son Daniel. A quick voice message. "Hey, Dad, just checking in. Everything good with the new neighbors?" I didn't mention anything to him about Charlotte yet because at that point, I still thought maybe this was a misunderstanding. Maybe I was overreacting. But as I stood there watching her struggle with my lock, something about her confidence, her attitude, made me want to be extra careful. She wasn't just a concerned HOA representative. She was playing a game, and I had a feeling I was her target. Then, out of nowhere, Charlotte made a call. She claimed that I was threatening her. She was trying to paint me as the villain in front of the entire neighborhood, all while misrepresenting herself as some kind of official. This was beyond frustrating. This was racism in action. Charlotte wasn't just doing her job. She was trying to undermine me, a black woman living in a predominantly white neighborhood. She was using her so-called authority to manipulate the situation in her favor, and I could feel the tension rising. Her 911 call was about to be her final mistake. I watched as Charlotte frantically dialed the emergency number, her voice shaking with fake concern. She claimed that I was barricading myself inside and threatening city workers. The audacity. Here she was, trying to manipulate the law enforcement system to target me, all because I wouldn't cooperate with her bogus inspection. And it was all happening in front of my neighbors, who were beginning to pick up their phones and start recording. I stood my ground. I wasn't about to let her make me a victim. But as Charlotte's words echoed into the phone, a realization hit me. The person answering her call was my son, Sheriff Daniel Phillips, the same son who had been working patrol shifts around our neighborhood. The sirens came minutes later. The first car to arrive was unmistakable. It was Daniel in full sheriff's gear, followed by a backup officer I didn't recognize. They both came toward us, the tension thick in the air. I could tell that Charlotte had no idea what was about to happen. She rushed toward Daniel with her fake authority, waving her paperwork, thinking that her connection to the system would protect her. But my son wasn't just going to let her slide. "Officer, thank goodness you're here. This woman has been refusing to comply with community standards," Charlotte said, throwing me under the bus without hesitation. Daniel took a moment to glance at the so-called official documentation she was showing him. A smirk formed on his face as he calmly addressed Charlotte. Ma'am, this paperwork doesn't match anything in our system. This is forged. Charlotte's face drained of color, and I could see her grasping at straws. She was trapped. The whole neighborhood knew it now. She had been scamming not just me, but several others in the area. She had no real authority, just a set of keys she thought she could use to control people. As Daniel made his observations clear, Charlotte snapped. "This is corruption!" she screamed. "You're protecting your own family." But Daniel wasn't backing down. "You're the one who made this personal," he replied. "How did you know I was her son?" That was the moment she lost control completely. She tried to backpedal, but it was too late. The crowd of neighbors had already witnessed her unraveling. Everyone knew that she had been manipulating the system and using her so-called authority to pressure vulnerable residents. Charlotte's plan had backfired, and now she had to face the consequences of her actions. Daniel's calm demeanor and professional conduct helped ensure that Charlotte would face the charges she had earned. As the officers took her away, she looked up at me, her pride shattered. What happened next wasn't just about her arrest. It was about justice. It was about the power of community and the strength of a black woman standing her ground in the face of systemic racism. Months later, Charlotte's criminal activity had been exposed, and she was held accountable for targeting elderly and vulnerable people just like me. Thanks to the swift actions of law enforcement and the community's solidarity, she and her accomplices faced the full weight of the law. But what made the difference was the community's resilience. We had stood together and refused to let ourselves be intimidated by fake authority. If you like this story, hit that like button, share your thoughts below, and subscribe for more HOA tales and real-life neighborhood drama each week.